Welcome in to I Remember My First Time. Oh, don't be nasty, Jacob. Not that first time.
Damn it.
This is a podcast about cinematic awakenings.
Oh my god, I like the sound of that.
Where we talk about the movies we love with someone who just popped their cherry to that movie.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Jacob, are all the movies we do on this podcast going to be good movies?
God, I hope not.
Do you love shitty movies?
I love shitty movies. Sometimes even more than good movies.
Are we critics?
Absolutely not.
But do we love the shit out of movies?
Oh, we love the fucking shit out of movies.
What cinematic masterpiece do we have on tap for this week?
This week it's an actual masterpiece. It's 1982's Sylvester Stallone's classic, First Blood.
A true classic.
A true classic in the action genre. And the cinema genre, really.
Well, Jacob, in town you may be the law, but out here, I'm the law.
Fuck yes, you are.
First Blood, coming up next. I am non-Medal of Honor recipient BJ Leica.
And I also haven't won the Medal of Honor, but everyone knows this, my dick gets hard from action movies. So this, I'm fucking excited.
They do not give out a Medal of Honor for loving action movies.
No, but they should for dicks getting hard for action movies.
No one's stopping you from making that award.
Let's do it.
So this week we have, like I said, the actual classic Rambo. We've called other movies classics here. Stripes, borderline classic, but this actually is a true classic.
Yes. And not Rambo, BJ. First Blood.
First Blood.
This movie's not named Rambo.
There's no Rambo in the title. It's simply First Blood. A movie described perfectly by HBO Max as Sylvester Stallone stars in this 1982 action classic as one-time war hero who becomes a hunted man.
Perfect. That is the movie.
That's it. That's all you need.
No.
Sylvester Stallone. It's an action movie. He was a war hero. Now he's being hunted.
Yep.
Let's go. Bam. This movie, 7.7 score on IMDb.
Of course it is. It's incredible.
87% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's only 0.3 points lower than our highest movie.
That's right. 61% on Metacritic.
Okay. Still good for Metacritic.
Again, adjust your thoughts when it comes to scoring with Metacritic. 61's a pretty good movie for Metacritic.
Yes.
Our good friend Roger Ebert hadn't done him in a while, but he was alive and well for this movie.
I'm saying he liked it.
You think he liked it?
I think he liked it because it's a perfect action movie, especially in 1982.
So I thought he was going to absolutely despise this movie because there is zero plot and zero character development.
Yep.
However, 3 out of 4 stars, that's a thumbs up from our boy Raj.
That's a fist pump you just heard me do. I'm 5 for 2 now on Raj.
5 for 7. 5 and 2, 5 for 7, whatever. You got 5 right and 2 wrong, right?
Yep.
Pretty good. That's much better than I would do with Raj. I'm just going to read the whole first paragraph of this review.
Okay.
Because it's incredible.
Awesome.
Sylvester Stallone is one of the great physical actors in the movies. With a gift for throwing himself so fearlessly into an action scene that we can't understand why somebody doesn't really get hurt. When he explodes near the beginning of First Blood, hurling cops aside and breaking out of jail with his fist and speed, it's such a convincing demonstration of physical strength and agility that we never question the scene's implausibility. In fact, although almost all of First Blood is implausible, because it's Stallone on the screen, we'll buy it.
Yes. And Roger, I'm just going to let you know, in your grave, that people did get hurt in this movie. Stallone actually jumped off that cliff. He broke a rib. He said it was very easy to act out the pain because he was fucking hurting.
Oh, a broken rib is terrible.
Oh, yeah. And I have some incredible trivia on also things that would not happen today that happened in 1982 between the director and Stallone. It's incredible.
This seems like a movie that would have a lot of trivia. I don't know why. It has that feeling.
Yeah, there was a lot of trivia. I cut it down, but there's a lot of trivia.
How'd this movie do in the box office now that we know what critics and audiences
This
thought?
movie did incredible in the box office. So its budget in 1982 was about $11 million. That's $30 million today. That's what it started out at. They had to do several months of production on top of what they already had allotted for, and it racked it up to $17 million. From 11 to 17, which is $51.5 million budget.
That's still not bad for an action movie.
I don't think so.
That's pure action.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem outrageous to me at all.
Not at all. So the opening weekend, $6.6 million in 1982, which adjusted for inflation is $20 million.
So it definitely made its money back.
Yes. I have another little fun bit of trivia to open the pod with. This film was enormously successful in Turkey. In Istanbul, one of the major cinemas of the city showed this film for over 50 weeks, despite strong rivals such as Shogun playing at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Turks love this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1982, it made $125 million. In today's standards, that's $379 million.
Okay. All right.
Incredible turnout for this movie.
Wow.
This is the first Stallone movie that didn't bomb at the box office that wasn't Rocky.
So the studio did not care that it went 70% over budget or whatever.
Not one fucking bit. That's why we got 4 more. There's 5 Rambo movies.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, every one of them gets my dick hard. And for all you losers out there that don't like Rambo Last Blood, we'll do it on this pod eventually, but Rambo Last Blood is so much like this first movie where it's a lot of traps being set. Because Rambo in Last Blood, he's in his 70s. He can't run around and fight and kill people like he could do in the first 4 movies. So they made it really realistic in my mind, and it's very much like the first movie. Obviously, they had the production value, but Stallone's in his 70s. So they made a very trap-esque kind of movie like this one.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Where he's not a superhero.
Exactly.
And this movie is a classic. So, cult following. Of course, people love this movie.
I mean, this isn't a cult movie. It's just a classic.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody loves this movie. My dad this was my first special edition movie. He bought me the first 3 because the 4th one hadn't come out yet. I had First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and Rambo 3, all on VHS in a shiny silver special edition box. And after the credits, special features came on the VHS. It was fucking incredible. It's my favorite Christmas present that year. So I was like 10 or 11.
So I think you were a movie nerd at a much younger age than I was.
Yeah.
When you got the first special edition director's cut, director's commentary, whatever, did you think that was the coolest thing ever?
It was my coolest Christmas gift of that year. And I still buy special edition movies in 2022. When I see a movie I really like, I go buy it on Blu-ray or Ultra K, HD, whatever the fuck it is now, special edition. And if they don't have the special edition out, I wait for it. It took me like a year and a half to buy Hateful Eight because Quentin Tarantino didn't put the special edition out forever. I still don't own Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because the special edition isn't out.
I like Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight's fucking great.
I like Hateful Eight a lot. So, as you can tell, there's no guest on today.
No, it's just me and you.
You know what that means?
That either means one of us is a virgin or we're just remembering our first time, which we thought we were going to do until you watched the trailer and realized you had never seen this movie. You've seen other Rambos. Yes. I'm pretty sure you've seen the second and the third one.
Probably. Because I know I've seen 2.
So the second one's in Vietnam.
Definitely seen that one.
The third one's in Afghanistan.
Yes, those are the 2 I've seen. Because when I watched the trailer, I was like, I didn't know Rambo was in America.
This is the only Rambo movie where the entirety of the story takes place in the U.S. In the 5th Rambo, some of it happens in Mexico. So, yeah, this is the only one in the U.S. entirety.
Yeah, I thought I'd seen this movie before because I'd seen other Rambos. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, I've never seen Rambo in America.
Yeah, and just being an action movie fan, like you would have thought, like you were confident that you were like, I've seen this. It's just been 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I don't remember the details.
Yeah.
And then I saw the trailer and I'm like, no, he was definitely not in America in any of the Rambos I've seen. So this was my first time watching the classic First Blood.
How was it?
It was awesome.
Of course it was.
It was far better than the other two that I've seen.
Yeah, and the second one's incredible. The one in Vietnam is great.
Yes.
And then the third one is, I mean, it's a Rambo movie. I don't dislike it because I love action movies and I love Rambo. But it's the weakest out of the five, and five should be the weakest. I'm going to be honest.
Okay. It seems to me like it's the perfect dad movie.
Okay.
There's essentially no plot line in this movie.
Oh, I remember watching this movie with my dad, and my dad had just joined the Navy. He's Special Forces Green Beret. My dad is just, he's like, you see him sewing up his own cut, doing all this shit. Like, that's what Special Forces do. Like, dads get their dicks hard for this movie.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Because there's nothing more manly than everything John Rambo in this movie.
100%. And from the moment it starts, when he turns back around after Sheriff Teasel drops him off, he's just like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm getting dinner in this town.
Oh, yeah.
That's manly as hell.
Yeah, he doesn't take shit from no one.
That's right.
And he finds out that the last guy he was teamed up with in Vietnam is passed away. Does he cry?
No, of course
He doesn't.
This is
John effing Rambo.
He's John Rambo, and this is 1982 we're talking about.
But yeah, just perfect dad movie. Everything that dads would love is in this movie.
100%. And you're a dad now.
I am.
How much did you love it?
I loved it. It was 90 minutes of one of the most badass men on the planet being hunted in the Pacific Northwest.
So I was going to wait till a little later to bring this up. We've already brought it up a couple times. 90 minutes. Originally, this movie was 3 hours and like 11 minutes long.
Oh, this would have been a terrible 3-hour movie.
Stallone hated the movie so much, he tried to buy the film back and destroy it. When he couldn't do that, he suggested that the producers cut much of his part and let the rest of the characters tell the story. That cut the movie time in half, and then it set the precedent for future action movies. This movie sets precedents. Like, we get 90-minute action films because of this movie. And we didn't get away from that until Fast and the Furious, up until like Fast 4 or Fast 5.
They discovered it immediately.
Yeah.
John Rambo, Sylvester Stallone, says almost nothing in this movie until the last scene.
Yeah.
He's essentially just saying one-sentence answers.
And Stallone's never been one of those people where you're just blown away by his acting. But he has great facial cues in this movie. Like, you can read all the pain and anger and everything on his face. He does an incredible job.
I knew everything I needed to know about him without him talking.
Yes.
Which I think is maybe Stallone at his best. It's just hard to build a movie around that. But when you have the two supporting actors that they had in Brian Denny and who played the military? His name's on the tip of my tongue.
Richard Crenna.
Richard Crenna.
Richard Crenna.
You know, so when you have two characters like that on the side, I think you can get away with the very little dialogue from Stallone. It's not a perfect movie. The dialogue is lacking, let's say.
I will argue there, it was a perfect movie in 1982. Is it a perfect movie in 2022? No. But in 1982, when that came out in theaters, I'm betting this is a perfect fucking movie.
You know, well, this is one of those things that's hard to do on this podcast because there's a lot of Jack Reacher in this movie. There's a lot of Jason Bourne movies in this movie. So if I had seen that before those movies, shows, books, whatever, I may have thought differently about it.
Sure.
It's still really good. I kind of enjoyed the apolitical stance they took on Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this time, most Vietnam movies I've seen are strongly anti-Vietnam movies.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is not that, but it's certainly not a pro-Vietnam movie either.
No, it's not. One of the things that they left out of the book that I felt, it probably is in the longer version, but at the same time, I don't think it is, because everything they cut down was a lot of Stallone scenes. Sheriff Teasel is a Korean War vet. And the reason he doesn't like John Rambo is because Korean War vets are pretty much ignored and forgotten about by this point in the 1980s.
Yeah, because they're sandwiched between the World War II vets and the Vietnam vets.
Yep. So that's why he doesn't like them. I would have enjoyed seeing a little bit of that, because it's like, why the fuck doesn't this guy like Rambo so much?
If it wasn't for MASH, I wouldn't know that the Korean War ever happened.
Thank you, MASH.
Great show.
This is a pro MASH podcast.
That's such a good... There's a MASH movie that I haven't seen.
Incredible.
I love the show.
Yeah, the show's great. Is there anything interesting or funny or anything that you noticed from the movie watching it your first time?
So I am now officially a knife maker, because I've made one knife.
Uh-huh.
And when he's in the mine and he's got the rags on fire and he stabs it with the knife and puts it in the wall, I'm like, you're going to destroy the edge of that knife, dude. You can't put that in that much heat. What are you doing? The knife's fucking awesome. Don't ruin the edge.
And he doesn't ruin it, because that knife's incredible. Incredible. You're making me one of those knives, aren't you?
Yes. Don't expect it anytime soon, because I've made one fucking knife and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then you're going to make your wife your second knife.
Yeah.
So your third knife, for me, is going to be the best out of the three.
Let's hope.
I mean, you would just assume you'd get better as you go on.
If anybody has any tips and tricks on how to fit a guard and pommel, let me know, because I don't fucking know what I'm doing.
Just like this podcast.
And just like this podcast, it's fucking fun.
Yes, 100%. Things I found interesting in this movie. All of it? Can I say all of it?
You love this movie.
Oh, I watch this movie every couple years. It's incredible. So, I mean, everything is interesting to me about this movie.
So Quigley's the movie you've seen the most. Is this in the top 5 of movies you've watched the most?
No.
Okay. 10?
No.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've seen this movie a lot. I've probably seen this movie 15 or 20 times.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're 30 and you see it every 2 years, that's 15, right?
Yeah.
And you probably didn't watch it when you were 1, but when you first saw it, you probably saw it more than
Oh, yeah.
once every...
On rewatch as I masturbate.
Speaking of masturbation, you know the saying that, oh, this person's so good looking, they look good in a burlap sack?
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone literally looks good in a burlap sack in this movie.
Yes.
I found that funny. When that came in, I chuckled to myself.
I love that you brought up the burlap sack. The large piece of rotten canvas that Rambo finds in the woods and cuts into a makeshift coat was, in fact, not a movie prop, but a real piece of rotten canvas found by the film and crew during the movie's production. Since there was only one piece, Stallone joked about how the canvas became a treasured prop on the set. After the filming ended, Stallone kept the rotten canvas and still has it in his possession to this day.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that could be in the Smithsonian, like John McClane's tank top.
Yeah.
The rotten canvas could be in the Smithsonian.
Anything that you didn't like about this movie?
Just that I wanted a little bit more info on why the sheriff didn't like Rambo.
I agree with that.
Because he really, really didn't like him. And for such an intense dislike and hatred, I felt that the audience should have known why. Because nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, we live in 2022. People dislike vagrancy as much as Sheriff Teasel did. But I feel like it's just, he was clearly walking through the town. He wasn't going to stop in that town. Like, he was on his way.
Well, and they said, you could use a shower and a haircut and a shave. Like, he had like a 2-day beard. His hair wasn't super long, and he did not look like he was intending to hurt a damn person.
It was the 80s. This film was filmed in 81, came out in 82. I mean, we're 10 years away from the civil rights movement and the hippies. People don't like long hair, especially on men.
Yeah, but we're like Metallica releasing their first album too.
I mean, yeah, but when Metallica releases their first album, it's still called Metal Up Your Ass in 81.
Yeah, okay.
Like it wasn't even called Kill 'Em All yet. Dave Mustaine was still part of Metallica in 1981.
Great Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, don't get me talking about Metallica. I literally have a Metallica tattoo. Metallica, if you want to come on this podcast, I will literally shit bricks and come at the same time. It's fucking ridiculous.
This week's guest, Lars Ulrich.
Oh my God. I'd lose my shit. Like I said, I would shit bricks and come at the same time. And I wouldn't even mean to. I would try to contain myself, and then it would just happen, and I'd have to go change.
It came out both ends.
I can't help it. Oh my God, Lars, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of everything that I've just enjoyed from y'all. So what did you not like about this movie?
So the dialogue in this movie is 80% either someone's name or a cuss word. God damn it, McClane. Oh, fuck you, Teasel.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, Michaels, go get it. You know.
Yeah, Teasel talking to all the sheriffs or the deputies because he's a sheriff. And you're right. It's like a cuss word every time a name is said.
Yeah, and it's just name and cuss
I'll
word.
fucking do this with you or without you, or something like that.
Except, ironically, the end scene, the end monologue with John Rambo.
Oh my God, the end monologue. We'll touch on that later.
And when Teasel and the Colonel,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Colonel,
are having a drink together. Incredible dialogue in those two scenes, and just terrible dialogue the other 95% of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The plot, and my problem with the plot is what your problem is. Why does Teasel hate John Rambo so much?
Yep.
What you're saying about the Korean War makes a little sense. They didn't go over that in the movie.
Not even a little bit. They go over it in the book. They don't even touch on it in the movie. You barely see any of Sheriff Teasel's medals in his office.
Yeah, there's a shot where it has the medals, but they never...
Yep.
So you have no idea what, why, where, how,
yep,
whom.
And yeah, I didn't like that either.
But that was really it. That was really the only issues I had with this movie. A fantastic 90-minute action movie.
Yeah,
is what it was.
What did you like about this movie?
So I mentioned earlier the kind of non-politicalness of the Vietnam War.
Yep.
Was, ironically refreshing to me.
Okay.
It's an action movie, and I bet the book is great. The movie seems like it would be an incredible book.
The author of the book actually likes the movie better than the book. In the book, Rambo is a psychotic killer. He kills every sheriff and deputy. There's an 18-person kill count in the movie. I mean, in the book.
Okay, this is a much better John Rambo then.
Yes, they made him just kind of lost. And in the script, Rambo originally kills 18 people, like in the book. While Ted Kotcheff described the killings as target practice, co-producer Andrew G. Vanja felt it was glorifying and crazed mass murder. And I will say Stallone thought that too, because Stallone wanted to change it as well.
Good decision.
Thus suggesting that Rambo should instead be a sympathetic person who is really lost without direction and a victim of circumstances. Thus, in the final film, he was never seen killing a person directly.
Correct. Because even the
helicopter, and the only reason that deputy died, I can't remember his last name, was because he unbuckled himself.
Yeah, he was hanging out of the helicopter.
If he would have stayed buckled in and Rambo threw that rock, the helicopter pilot just would have flown away and the deputy would have kept living. And I mean, honestly, I don't fault Rambo for throwing that rock at the helicopter. That dude was literally trying to kill him. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do?
Right.
I'm not going to get shot at. I probably won't jump off a fucking cliff, but also at the same time, if I'm on a cliff being shot at, I don't know what I'll do.
So I'm a fan of the Jack Reacher books, and by fan, look, I understand they're not classic works of literature, but they're fun as hell to read. And this movie was very much a Jack Reacher novel.
100%. Jack Reacher before Jack Reacher.
Even the names, Jack Reacher, John Rambo, are very similar.
They actually had to come up with the name John because in the book, his name's only Rambo. He just goes by his last name, so they came up with John.
John J. Rambo.
That's right.
You think it's Jacob? You think his middle name's Jacob?
It fucking better be, because I'm a badass. Or at least I am when I dream. I feel like we already know this answer. But was it a good movie or a bad movie? It was fucking incredible.
It was a good 80s action movie.
Yeah, an incredible 80s
Yes.
action movie.
It's not winning Academy Awards.
No.
Which, again, a movie like this, especially from what you've told me about the editing, seems to me like that deserves a freaking nomination for editing.
Mm-hmm.
When you had a 3 hour and 11-minute movie that was focused on John Rambo and you edit it down to where he doesn't say hardly anything for 7/8 of this movie. He says stuff at the beginning, he says stuff at the end. He says very little in the middle of this movie.
Yes, almost nothing. Before we leave this part of the podcast, I wanted to just bring up one more thing. Getting arrested for nothing and police brutality ages super well. It ages super fucking well.
Vagrancy is still a crime in most cities.
So yeah, ages very well. I enjoyed the fuck out of that.
They did have one decent person, police officer.
They did. David Caruso or whatever.
Young David Caruso.
Yeah, David Caruso. Thank you.
Yeah. The ginger cop.
Yeah. Love that.
It's time to get into our movie-related discussion. With First Blood, I think a great starting point for something that both of us love. You probably a little more than me. But the modern action movie.
Yes.
I think this movie typifies the modern action movie.
It does. I mean, like I already said with my trivia, like, this movie is the reason we get 90-minute action movies.
Die Hard doesn't exist without this movie, right?
No. Die Hard doesn't exist without this movie and all the other 80s action films. But the reason we have the 80s action films is because of this movie. And even with Die Hard, with that being said, like you said, Rambo is a certified badass as a special forces, and John McClane isn't, and that's what makes Die Hard different. Is it's just some random New York City police officer. But very similar movie tropes: being trapped by himself,
tank tops,
having to go against people out of your element, so to speak. I mean, John Rambo, it looked like it was the start of winter, and the start of winter in Washington is not the start of winter in Texas
or Vietnam.
Like, it was fucking cold. And John McClane didn't have shoes. Like, a lot of similar elements between this and Die Hard. Yeah, I mean, without this movie, we don't get so many action movies. I mean, we would have gotten them at some point, but this is the movie that made it happen.
Yeah, and
Stallone is an incredible writer. He doesn't get enough credit for that. The man owns an Oscar. There's an Oscar at his house.
A well-deserved Oscar.
Yes.
For the first Rocky.
Yes.
Incredibly written movie.
There were 26 drafts of this script before Stallone wrote the final script. And Stallone wrote the final one for this movie.
I mean, he had an Oscar at that point.
He's incredible.
He had a screenwriting Oscar at that point, so why not? But yeah, so, obviously the Die Hard comparisons, the Bourne comparisons of where it's the non-protagonist that are telling the story of the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Rambo's not telling his own story in this movie.
No.
Jason Bourne's not telling his story in any of the Bourne movies. That's really good. I really enjoy that part of it. I already mentioned the Jack Reacher kind of ex-military, super awesome badass.
And like I said, that was a Stallone movie direction. Because before Stallone, it was told from Rambo's perspective. Like, what a game changer. Action movies. Thank you, Sylvester Stallone.
You did it.
Thank you.
You did so much. And, so you always hear about the big, huge, muscular 80s action stars. Stallone's quite lean in this movie.
I thought so too, especially for someone that had been doing Rocky. At this point, he was in the middle of filming Rocky 3 as well. Like, so I don't know how they made him look so lean. And by lean, he still had incredible muscle definition.
Yes.
Veins popping out of his arms. But it wasn't like I was watching Rocky.
Not at all.
Anything else you have to say about just perfect action movies and what they do for us?
No, this movie did a lot for both of us personally in kind of kicking off the modern action movie.
100%.
So thank you, First Blood.
Thank you, First Blood. And thank you, Dad.
Yes, thank you, Dad. Although, and I think the problem was that this movie was like not on television. So that's probably why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
My dad's like, I'm not paying the fucking rent. First Blood, I've already seen it 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, we were regular connoisseurs of the classic business chain Blockbuster.
Do you want to know my big reveal here? Do you want to know my biggest relationship with Blockbuster?
Yep.
So the reason I've seen as many movies as I have, is because in college I had a weed dealer. She worked at Blockbuster. I would text her the amount and the movie I wanted, and I would walk into Blockbuster, and she would hand me the DVD that had the movie in it with a bag in it.
Oh, Blockbuster was the greatest. I love Blockbuster. Thank you, Blockbuster. BJ,
are we going to my favorite part of the show?
We are going to your favorite part of the show,
Yes,
and being the virgin of the show, you get to start us off with the Mount Rushmore of scenes. Your 4th favorite scene from this movie.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So my 4th favorite scene is, I'm trying to describe this scene. So it is while Brian Denny and the Army colonel.
Okay.
Army, right? Was he
Yes.
Army or Marines?
Army.
Yeah, Green Beret.
Yep.
Okay. When they're having their little, I guess it's a lunch. They're drinking at lunch.
I felt like it was late at night because you had the whole Rambo thing go on. He just got blowed up.
Yeah, but the sun was shining when he got out.
Was it? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever that was, and I think one of them even says, "You knew he was alive." Brian Denny says, "You knew he was alive that afternoon."
I
We
suspect
were having drinks.
Yeah. And you're right. He did say that afternoon, and it doesn't surprise me that a colonel's drinking in the middle of the afternoon. Military personnel love their drinking.
Does your brother love this movie as much as you do?
I would assume so.
Okay, we should have got his thoughts on this.
We have the same dad, so I'm gonna say yeah.
It's just really cool. It's really well shot. This is the only non-action scene that's in my Mount Rushmore. Spoiler alert! But I really loved how good the acting was between the sheriff and Brian Denny. And I really loved the camera work of Rocky escaping the mine. I thought this was a really good scene.
Yeah. This wasn't even on my honorable mentions, so way to go to choose the scene. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
My number 4 favorite scene was right after the first car chase ended and the prison breakout scene. We have the dogs. We have the Dobermans. Rambo has the tarp now. He's got his knife. And he's just fucking running. And, like, I mean, you know he's going to get away. But it's like, oh, my God, how's he gonna? And then he comes up on that cliff. And you're just like, what the fuck is this guy going to do? And he starts climbing down the cliff because he's a motherfucking Green Beret. What else is he going to do? And then the helicopter shows up. And they start fucking just trying to kill him. And he's not supposed to because he's so pissed. Because this deputy that was beating the shit out of Rambo got so butthurt that he got his shit kicked in by special forces.
He's trying to shoot him standing up in a helicopter.
Yeah.
There's no way you're hitting a person standing up in a helicopter.
Incredible scene. I've already mentioned that Stallone actually did jump off the cliff and he broke a rib. Incredible. And that scene ends with him throwing the rock and him getting the jacket. Now he's got a jacket. Now he can be warm and a rifle. And then it ends right after that when Stallone breaks out his badass knife, the hollow handle, pulls out needle and thread, and just starts sewing up his arm.
You're not going to have a hollow handle on the knife that I make you.
That's okay. I don't need it. I'm never going to need to sew up my arm because I don't know how. But when that happened, I remember sitting watching this movie with my dad. And my dad's like, he's sewing up his own arm. That's special forces for you. And I'm just like, this is so fucking cool.
I kind of thought he was going to pull cocaine out of there.
I mean, why not? Get a little bump and keep going.
I was like, oh, that explains everything. He's a fucking cokehead. But no, he didn't. He's just a fucking badass.
So my brother did text me his thoughts on Rambo just now. Sorry, not Rambo. First Blood.
Yes.
most badass motherfucking film of its time. Had the right amount of acting and action.
I like David so much. David's great.
Coming in clutch, David Egas. So your number 3 favorite scene?
It kind of goes right into that because, and this might include that, I don't know, it depends on what a scene is, right?
We're real liberal with it.
So when he sets the booby traps while all the police and Doberman are attacking him, he shoots the Doberman.
That's your number 3 favorite scene?
It's my number 3 favorite scene.
That is also my number 3 favorite scene.
Okay,
we
great.
share the same 3 favorite scene.
Do you know where this scene was shot by chance?
It was all shot in British Columbia.
Oh, okay.
This whole movie was. But it takes place in the fictitious Hope, Washington.
Because it was very similar to like the Columbia River Gorge.
Mm-hmm. Very similar.
But yeah, okay, same third scene. And that's just a great scene.
And him hiding on top of the tree too, the little makeshift scarecrow jumping off top of the tree and getting the guy, making the one cop shoot the other cop. The trap with the sharpened sticks. Like, the budget in this movie really reflected in the scene because it wasn't a lot of intense action sequences. It was a lot of well done camera shots and really, at the end of the day, special forces type of warfare, guerrilla warfare. Why am I saying special forces? It's very guerrilla warfare in the scene, and you really get that.
And the
writing. This scene is where we get the opening quote for the pod.
That's right. And writing 101, show me, don't tell me, right? We know John Rambo's ex-military. That's it.
Yep.
We don't know really anything else at this point. And the fact that you show us how good he is before the colonel comes in and tells you he's the best, just very well done.
Yes.
Very well done scene.
Incredible. So your number 2 favorite scene, since we both just knocked out our 3.
The escape from jail followed by the enduro bike cop car chase.
We have the same number 2 favorite scene. I'm pretty confident we have the same number 1.
There's only like 6 scenes in this movie.
I know.
It's a 90-minute movie.
The only difference is our number 4 scene.
Yeah.
You went with the non-action scene.
Yeah.
I went all action.
Sure.
But yeah, the prison escape scene, we get introduced to his PTSD. We get introduced to every deputy and sheriff. There's a couple good deputies. There's just one outspoken good one. Right. The best part is Stallone didn't care who was good and who wasn't. He was getting out of prison. He was knocking the fuck out of anybody that was in his way.
Right.
Because at that point, everyone's an enemy.
Yes. Yeah. And that's that train. That's the Green Beret training right there.
Yep. I love that he made sure to get his knife. Also in this scene, I don't know if you noticed this your first time watching, but he looked around as they brought him in. Like he saw where the gun case was. Like he was canvassing. That's some special forces shit right there.
That's a very Jack Reacher thing to do as well.
Or in other words, it's a very Rambo thing that Jack Reacher does.
Maybe.
Yeah. I love that he grabbed the knife. I love that he got rope. His tarp is introduced in this scene.
Can we do a like we did Alien versus Predator? Can we do Reacher versus Rambo?
Sure.
You want to write it?
Yep.
Okay.
100% I do. But yeah, such an incredible scene. And just small bits in the scene were incredible. The fingerprinting scene.
You gotta roll it. Roll it.
My little bit of trivia from this scene about things that wouldn't happen today that happened in 1982. During a Q&A with Ain't It Cool News, Stallone revealed the following, quote, "I was doing the scene of First Blood where I'm in the cell being whipped in the lower back with a piece of rubber hose. David Caruso was standing directly behind me. After every hit with the hose, David's character was supposed to exclaim, 'Jesus, can't you see this guy's crazy?' And then I get hit again. We had about 4 takes, and David had repeated the line perfectly on each take. Yet the director said, 'Let's try it again.' At this point, my back was on fire, and I turned to the director and said, 'How many more times are you going to do this?' The kid said it perfectly. And the director basically said, 'Shut up and do it again.' As I came forward, I pushed him back, and the next thing I knew, I was tackled by a pair of security men and driven against the cell wall, which in turn cracked my rib. So his second broken rib of the movie. Anyway, after several moments, everything cooled down. We all apologized and marched on.
I wish we could do that more in life.
Yeah.
Just and that's such a man thing to do, right?
Like we're all intense. We're all trying to get the best thing out of this movie. Like, my bad, I got carried away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wouldn't happen now. So yeah, incredible second scene. I'm going to guess that our first favorite scene is the same, but you go ahead and tell me what your first favorite scene is, being the virgin.
It's the final scene, right?
Of course it is.
Okay. The culmination of how every fight scene, John Rambo gets more and more weaponry, where at first it's his hands, and then he grabs a knife, escaping the prison. Then he knocks down the helicopter. Then he gets the little bolt action rifle. Then he gets an M16. Now he's got an M60.
Incredible. And oh my God, does he look good with that M16? Bullets wrapped around his chest. I don't know if that's the first time we got that look, but I know it was incredible. And you just had it for a split second as he's running with the gun and the bullets. And then the next time you see him with the gun, it's a silhouette on the wall.
Oh, it's
awesome. Of the building. It's incredible. Also, one of my favorite things about the scene that I didn't notice until this watch, ironically enough, because I just accepted that his headband was stark red, is when he first gets the headband, it's a very watered down, washed red. Beige, sure.
It's almost beige.
Yeah. And then it becomes really red later.
Yeah.
I like that. Normally I hate stuff like that, but I noticed it this time.
He's getting more and more angry, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a question for you about this scene. And I didn't think of it until this scene. Was Stallone the reason mullets were cool?
Ooh, wow. I don't know. I haven't seen the full cross chest strap of bullets until this movie.
Yeah, and he had a mullet, and it was incredible.
Oh, you said mullets were cool.
Yeah. Did Stallone make mullets cool?
This is a great question.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not know enough about the late 70s, early 80s to know if Stallone made mullets cool or not.
Well, I'm not necessarily talking about late 70s and early 80s. I'm talking about after this movie, 80s through the 90s.
Because when I think mullets, I think country music, right?
Sure.
I think Alan Jackson.
Yep.
I think Billy Ray Cyrus.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be a baseball player with an awesome mullet in the 80s, too.
And baseball was a lot cooler back then.
Oh, 80s baseball is so cool.
Okay. I want to know the answer to this question. We're going to have to figure it out, but for another day. I love the exploding gun shop.
Oh, when he dumps all the kerosene and gunpowder.
Yeah. Incredible. I love that. And of course that scene starts with, I don't start it with him hijacking the army truck. I started with him exploding the army truck.
Oh, in the gas station. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. I could start with that other car scene, but I kind of felt that other car chase scene was going to be my number one honorable mention.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's a really fun scene where he kicks the guy out of the car.
Yeah, and he has a knife on his neck, and he's like, pay attention to the road. That's how accidents happen. Like, I wasn't expecting any comedy in this movie. I don't know why I forgot about that line, but when that happened, I was like, that's fucking funny.
Very funny. As at this point, we've established he's a crazy person.
Yes.
He's just like, keep your eyes on the road. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just holding a knife to your neck. What's the big deal? Just keep driving.
Yeah. Like, come on now. You haven't brought it up, so I'll go ahead and bring it up. The best part of the scene, even with all the explosions, and we all know what I feel about action and explosions, Stallone's meltdown about PTSD.
That's the coup de grace. That is the movie, right?
I'm getting goosebumps right now. That's the best acting I've ever seen Stallone do. That was fucking credible.
If you give 3 scenes like that in a movie, you're winning an Academy Award.
If that was Stallone's only scene in this movie, he would have at least been nominated, i.e. Mark Wahlberg in The Departed.
Right.
That it was as good as Mark Wahlberg in The Departed. I teared up. Like, it really got me. It was an incredible scene. There was a lot of hesitation that came from the studio about Rambo's final breakdown in the film. Stallone actually fought tooth and nail for the scene, noting that he felt the soldiers who were going through similar pushback from society needed their story told. And the stories Rambo rants about in those final moments are real stories from real soldiers.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is an example. The Vietnam War as bad as it was, it's not the fault of the troops. It's the fault of the suits.
Yep. In fact, you say that. I didn't write this bit of trivia down. Stallone kind of viewed his character Rambo as Frankenstein's monster. But Frankenstein's monster wasn't created by a doctor. It was created by the American government.
Right. It's the Bourne identity, right? I mean,
Yep.
Jason Bourne's kind of a super soldier, but it's the same thing, right?
Yep.
I don't want to be like this. You made me like this.
Yep. It was such a heartfelt scene.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm getting goosebumps now. It was incredible.
If that scene's not in this movie, I don't know if it's a classic.
Yeah. And I think we've already talked about it in the pod, but it was Stallone's decision to make Rambo that person. And I don't think we get more Rambo movies if he's a psychotic killer that just kills people.
Now,
That scene made this movie a franchise. It made this movie have heart. And it made this movie what it is today. That's why you can still watch it.
It made the movie make sense.
Yes.
Right? It completely made the movie make sense.
Yes, because now you understand why he went off the deep end.
It is literally senseless violence without that scene.
Yes.
And it's a 2-minute monologue, maybe?
Maybe
90 seconds?
incredible. Some of the best 2 minutes I've ever seen. And Stallone is not renowned for his acting. And he acted the fuck out of that scene.
That's a really, like I said, if you have 3 scenes like that, you win an Oscar.
Yes.
He only had 1 in this movie, so he didn't win an Oscar, but it's that good.
Yes.
We did it, Jacob.
That was the fastest Mount Rushmore scenes we've ever done.
No disagreement. Well, we had a different 4th scene. Big deal.
Yeah.
We
And honestly,
if
if you would have decided to go with all action scenes, we would have had the exact same 4.
Yeah, I just wanted to change it up a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, it's hard not to pick those 3.
Yeah. Character breakdown. That's where we're at now.
We start with John Rambo.
The one and only John J. Rambo.
Rambo, John, J.
Rambo,
John J.
What an incredible scene to be introduced to him. Because you don't realize that he's suffering from PTSD. You don't realize what's going on in his life. But you do know that he's just searching for friends. He's a loner that just wants somebody that he knows.
Yes.
And he doesn't have a car. Who knows how long he's walked. But he knows that he's made it. And he's there. And you find out a little later that it's the last person that he was looking for. There's nobody. He has no one. Which also helps explain what happened in the movie and why he broke. This movie would have been different had there have been that guy there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No,
he wouldn't have lost his shit. Nothing would have happened. Because he would have found some kind of purpose. And I love that they bring in napalm. And that's the reason that his buddy got cancer. I think his wife said that orange shit they were spraying down in Vietnam.
We know it's napalm, right?
Yeah.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory.
Robert Duvall, everybody. Also, BJ, spoiler alert, I've never seen that movie.
Apocalypse Now?
Correct.
It's wild.
We should do it on this pod.
Okay. That may be a 4-hour podcast. Like, I'm not shitting you.
Y'all should have seen the way he said okay.
I'm not kidding you. That might be a 4-hour podcast.
Yeah.
There is so much to talk about in that movie.
I'm excited. But yeah, John Rambo. I don't know of anybody in 81 that could have done it like Stallone did it. There were people that they tried to get before Stallone got it.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now.
Jeff Bridges, Robert De Niro, Michael Douglas, Paul Newman, Nick Nolte.
Hold on. What are your thoughts of Michael Douglas as?
Oh, he wouldn't show us his dick, so I don't want to fucking see him. Thank you for asking.
Do you? What's more realistic? Michael Douglas having sex with Sharon Stone or Michael Douglas being a former Green Beret badass?
Having sex with Sharon Stone. 100%. Yes. Fuck you, Michael Douglas. Show me your dick. Ryan O'Neal and John Travolta were all considered for the Rambo part. I don't think any of those guys could have done what Stallone did.
It's a different movie with De Niro.
Yes, I think De Niro could have played a good Rambo. I don't think De Niro would have had the wherewithal to make Rambo a sympathetic character. I think Rambo still would have killed all 18 people if Robert De Niro was in this movie.
Well, he's Travis Bickle, right?
Yes.
Like De Niro's basically Travis Bickle.
Yes.
If he plays John Rambo.
Yes. And Travis Bickle kills everyone in this movie.
Travis Bickle is Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver.
Yep.
For those of you who don't know.
Nick Nolte probably wouldn't have done a horrible job. But again, even with Nick Nolte, all 18 people would have been killed.
Oh, maybe more.
Maybe more. So you would have gotten a Rambo movie, but you wouldn't have got this. You wouldn't have got John Rambo.
Yes. How Stallone manages to come across sympathetic is genius.
Yes. He's a better actor than people give him credit for. With what happened in his career, he had to just give up the acting thing because he was going one way with his career, and it was to make awesome action movies, and he fucking did it.
Well, and he's a better actor the less he talks.
Yes, and his little face paralysis that he was born with really takes away from a lot of great acting movies that he can portray facial expressions with. He did a great job in this movie, but you're right. His best acting is when he doesn't talk a lot, but when you don't talk a lot, you have to be able to show those facial expressions a lot like Ryan Gosling does.
Sure. Richard Crenna,
the Colonel. You want to start with him, or do you want to do Sheriff Teasel?
We'll do Crenna. We'll sandwich Crenna in because,
there's only three characters
right.
in this movie.
Yeah. Sorry, David Caruso. You were great in this movie, but
yeah, and so was the other shit deputy, Alt.
Yeah.
But we're just going to talk about the three.
Richard Crenna kind of pulls the movie together. He doesn't show up until 45 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
And it all begins to make sense.
Yes. And without him, it doesn't make sense.
And he's a bit of a sympathetic figure as well, ironically enough.
Yes.
He's the one that created this monster for all intents and purposes. Because John Rambo doesn't want to be like this. He was created mainly by Richard Crenna.
Yes.
And I do feel like there's a part of Richard Crenna that feels bad that these are not lifer military personnel.
And I mean, you see that in the last scene, and you really get that from Rambo's monologue, because that's such a hard thing military personnel have to do with, especially military personnel that experience combat.
Especially that level of combat.
They don't know how to re-enter civilian life. It's almost impossible. And you really feel, the Colonel really feel that. And it was incredible. And it was all facial expressions.
He's really good. Richard Crenna's a great actor.
Mm-hmm. Richard Crenna had when he shows up in the movie, he actually has one of my favorite lines in the movie. I didn't come here to rescue Rambo from you, but to rescue you from him.
That's right. He knew what a badass he was.
Yeah.
And like I said, we've already seen it. Because we're kind of like, okay, why is this guy such a badass? Okay, he's, some podunk Northwestern, Great Northwest podunk police officers. Okay, he took them down. Oh, no, he's legitimately one of the 10 biggest badasses in the United States.
Of all time. Sheriff Teasel.
Brian Denny.
Not
Stacy Keach.
I've never seen a movie with Brian Denny in it besides First Blood.
Really?
Yeah. At least I don't think so. Off the top of my head, I really don't think so.
So I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure which movies I've seen had Brian Denny and which ones had Stacy Keach.
But you have seen a Brian Denny movie.
Because they are essentially the same person to me.
Okay. I can see that.
Brian Denny is a fantastic bad guy.
Yes.
And a fantastic police officer.
He has a great physical presence on screen.
He's big. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Very intimidating.
Yeah. He did an incredible job with this role. And like we've already said, I really wish they would have delved more into, even for 5 or 10 minutes, on his dislike for Rambo and what made him dislike him. I think that would have made his character that much better.
If you just had a scene with him and the Colonel, because him and the Colonel are probably the same age.
Yeah.
So if they have a conversation talking about the Korean War and kind of how it's bullshit that World War II is the greatest generation, all the people that went to Vietnam have all these problems. What about us? We're nothing. Why are we nothing?
Yep.
We did just as much.
Yep. And for just as little.
Yes. Well, just as little as Vietnam, much less than World War II.
Well, yeah.
But yes,
we're only
I
talking
understand what
about
you're
Vietnam.
saying. Yeah. Yes. Just like I said, in that, whatever bar scene where those two were talking,
Mm-hmm.
if you would have put in, and you say 10 minutes, 3 would have completely changed this movie.
100% it would have.
But Brian Denny's really good at
even
this.
if you put it there, oh yeah, he was incredible in this. I liked him as the bad guy. He was incredible. Even though I didn't understand why he hated Rambo so much, his portrayal of his character, I believed it. I didn't necessarily need an explanation. That just would have made the movie better.
Because Brian Denny has definitely more lines, probably more screen time than Stallone in this movie.
100%.
Good job, Brian Denny. You did great.
Stacy Keach.
I was like, when did he get a hair lip?
Oh my God.
So I think those are the 3 main characters we need to talk about. Good job, David Caruso, while we're here.
Oh yeah, he was incredible in this movie, and so was the actor who portrayed Alt.
Yes. I don't know, but he just, what an asshole that guy was. Well, Jacob, now it's your favorite part of the podcast. I'm going to concede the floor over to you and tell me all the trivia and facts you found out about this movie. At least the ones that you found interesting enough to bring to the podcast.
Sure. And I mean, everyone's already gotten a little bit of it. It's Jack Starrett as Galt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The asshole, the real asshole.
Yeah. He was incredible. He played a great asshole. So my trivia and facts for this movie, I'll start with the knife, which is an incredible knife. Stallone personally selected famed knife maker Jimmy Lyland to design and create the iconic knife first used by Rambo. The goal was to create a knife that could be reliable for extreme survival situations, including being long and sharp enough to slice food or cut wood, waterproof and able to hold necessities like matches and medicine, able to carry a nylon string for fishing or snaring, and have an alternate blade of saw teeth for defense and in order to cut poles for shelter. In all, 6 knives were created to be used during production, with additional updated versions made for the sequels. So the knives just get better.
They do.
Yeah. But I mean, this is the standard.
Yes. Yeah. What kind of a clip point Bowie survival knife?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah.
I'm a knife maker.
Yeah, you are. Kirk Douglas was actually supposed to be the colonel, and he quit the day before filming.
Because?
He showed up on set and showed Stallone and the director some notes he wrote down about his version for the movie's ending. In Stallone's own words, quote, The plan to include Kirk Douglas snowballed into something I never expected. He said to me, here's what I want. At the very end of the movie, I should kill you. The audiences see a cop car driving away, and as it disappears into the fog, a hand reaches up to the rearview mirror. The camera turns up, and we see me. It turns up a bit higher, and I'm wearing your headband. The idea was soundly rejected, and Kirk Douglas informed his agent he would be leaving the production. His replacement, Richard Crenna, quickly filled in, but had to have his lines fed to him in his first couple scenes because he just didn't know the script.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I ever become an actor, they're going to have to feed me my lines all the time because I ain't memorizing shit.
Yeah. Old school Marlon Brando. Pulling a Brando.
Brandon pulling a Brando.
What a horrible ending to this movie.
Terrible.
Horrible ending.
This movie's not about you, bro.
No. The movie's about John Rambo. And if you wanted to end the movie with that scene after his meltdown in the police station, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, glad you're not in this movie, my friend.
And he wouldn't have showed his dick either, probably.
No, 100% would not have. Just like Michael Douglas, you fucking dweeb. According to Stallone, Burt Reynolds liked immensely the part of Colonel Trotman and would have played him had he been approached to.
Too young.
Stallone told him that he felt he was too big a star at the time to consider taking the secondary role and never even risked offering it to him. Also, he joked he might have been too tough as Trotman and even more imposing in a figure than Rambo. we've already touched this a number of times, but just more on Stallone. He decided to change the character of Rambo and make him different from the novel where he's depicted as a psychopath. He decided to make Rambo more sympathetic, who was lost, didn't know what to do with his life, and a victim of circumstance. Stallone also decided to have Rambo not kill the copter National Guardsmen as in the novel, where Rambo kills them all. He even kills all the National Guardsmen.
There's like 200 of them.
Which, for me, as Rambo being military personnel, I don't see him killing the National Guardsmen. Like, do I see him killing the cops in the novel? Yes, because they started their own war with him.
They drew
First blood. Which, by the way, listeners of this podcast, you already know, we fucking love it when the title of the movie is said in the movie. It's amazing. Even if Stallone had decided that Rambo was going to kill people, I wouldn't have believed that he was killing National Guardsmen. Those are his brothers in arms.
Right.
Though you talk to a lot of active duty military personnel, my brother included, National Guard's a joke. But, I mean, I'm not calling you guys a joke. I won't fucking do it.
They won't let me. I'm too old.
I put this in here because we're both fans of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
The movie starring Steve Austin, Recoil from 2011, takes place in the same fictional town of Hope, Washington.
Hell yeah, brother.
So we'll be watching that soon. Just fucking cuz.
And that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold says so.
The best Stone Cold Steve Austin movie is The Condemned. And if you've never seen it, have you ever seen it?
No.
I'm so excited to show it. It's got Vinnie Jones in it, and they take a bunch of criminals from across the world that are in these prisons in third world countries and put them on an island, and they have to fight to the death, and the last one living gets to go free. And Stone Cold plays a retired special forces operative who's working black ops for the government and gets caught in some Central America prison.
Does he pull the Stone Cold Stunner to?
He does. He does do the Stone Cold Stunner in the movie. The Condemned is a WWE production.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. A Navy SEAL was brought in to show Stallone how to get away from the group of police officers who were detaining Rambo. The actors on set, David Curso among them, were convinced they could hold him with all of them ganging up, but the SEAL, as Stallone puts it, quote, laid out all three of them.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Stallone mentions how several actors passed on the role before it went to him. He recollects it being the first time he saw an American fighting other Americans in this way and believes the John Rambo role to be a career killer. He also believes the character and its legacy has been misrepresented. Rambo has been taken on as a very pro-military right-wing symbol for America's strength. Stallone, rightfully so, feels the character is the exact opposite of this.
Agreed.
Me too.
He doesn't want to be that.
No. That's just who he is now.
Yes.
He is Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
And Frankenstein's monster never wanted to be a killer.
No. Dr. Frankenstein wanted him to be a killer.
Yes.
The monster did not.
And the American government wanted Rambo to be a killer.
Right.
And they made him as such. This film has a reputation for being overtly violent. However, the total body count of the movie is 1.
Yeah.
Galt falling from the helicopter. All others survive, even Teasel.
Yeah.
My last bit of trivia is specifically for you, BJ.
Baseball?
It's hilarious. Oh. No, not baseball. As much as baseball was great in the 80s. Between his trips to the local emergency room, Stallone went to a local bar on one occasion dressed as Rambo. He wanted to create a mystery about himself and make people think he was who he was playing. All the mystique got dashed, though, when he ordered a Campari and soda. I knew you'd love that.
Thanks for that. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah. That's my trivia and facts. That's all of them.
I can't stop laughing. He blew it by ordering a Campari and soda. Just order a Jack Daniels neat, bro. What are you doing?
You can even order a Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
So what? You don't want to order Jack neat?
Stallone is the best.
So yeah, that's my trivia and facts.
So we usually do movie impersonations here.
Which is really hard for this movie because, as I told you, there's no way we can impersonate that last scene. And that's really the only scene you can do.
Right.
Neither one of us want to, in any way, take away from PTSD.
Absolutely not.
So we can't do that scene.
No.
So what are we doing?
So do you remember when the National Guard shows up and I guess he's the commander of that group, keeps telling people to go around and confront Rambo?
Yes.
And they all come up with excuses not to?
Mm-hmm.
We are each going to do our 3 funniest excuses of why we would not go after John Rambo. And I don't care who goes first. If you want to go first, so I don't steal yours, you can go ahead. If you want me to go first, I'll go first too.
No, you go ahead and go first because you go first on the movie impersonations. Let's not change it now.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to tell me to go after John Rambo.
Okay. All right, Leica. You go in there and you walk around the side and you get up to the front of that mine shaft and you go get John Rambo.
Whoa. I haven't finished season 4 of Stranger Things yet. I ain't dying before I finish that.
Okay.
Aegis, I need you to go around and confront Rambo and from the side.
Absolutely not. I'll shit myself on the way there. You've seen what he's done. Leica, you take the roundabout and go to the front of that mine and you get Rambo for me.
Oh, no. My birthday's in 2 weeks, and my girlfriend promised to tongue my bun hole, so I'm going to live to see that. Aegis, Rambo's in that mine. I need you to go get him.
No. That's not my job. No. Leica, you go to the front of that mine shaft and you get Rambo.
Sir, we're 2 weeks away from the semi-annual sale at Brooks Brothers, and I'm really looking forward to getting some cheap pants. Aegis, I need you to go around to that mine, and I need you to distract Rambo for us.
Distract Rambo? No. I'm a National Guardsman. That's not who he is. That ain't me.
All right, we had a few different approaches on that one, but I liked it.
Yeah,
liked it. That was fun. Yeah.
That was fun.
Much better than us trying to make fun of PTSD.
100%.
We will not do.
We will not do that.
That is a serious situation.
Very much so. Being the history guy of this podcast, you know what they did to people that suffer from PTSD in World War I?
I don't want to know, but you're going to tell me, and I'm going to hate that you told me.
They killed them for not fighting for their country.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they just killed them. All the commanders that weren't on the front lines in the trenches in World War I, they just killed them.
This is where if this was a text message, you would get the BJ does not like this.
No. I would get fuck you.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Okay, so final thoughts on the movie.
It is a great 90-minute action movie. It takes no time. It flies by. When the Colonel first showed up, I was getting a little hungry. So I paused it to go get something to eat and saw we were like 50 minutes into the movie.
And you were like, awesome.
I was like, oh, great. It's not a perfect action movie for me. There's some things that, just kind of, the dialogue, the plot. Hey, why does Teasel hate him so much? But overall, still a really good, and I completely understand why it's a classic action movie. For me, this movie's getting rated low 8s, 8 point, a little higher than low 8. I'm going to go 8.4.
Okay.
I'm going to go 8.4. That's a really good movie.
Okay. I'm going to start with my rating because it's kind of similar to yours. It's an entire point ahead.
Okay.
9.4.
Fair. Fair.
This movie's incredible. It could have gained those extra 0.6 points if I knew why Sheriff Teasel didn't like Rambo so much. And I'm aware that there are better action movies than First Blood, but for 1982, there wasn't a better action movie. So it gets a 9.4 from me. But yeah, this movie was incredible.
And again, one of those movies, our last episode was Knives Out, and I was like, I don't understand how anybody can hate this movie. Same thing here.
Oh, on the bad reviews for First Blood, I've never seen this before. There is a total of like 3 1-star reviews. You can't load any more up. There's 4 2-star reviews, and there's like 3 3-star reviews.
Wow.
People love this movie.
Yeah. Or nobody hates this movie.
Yes. But yeah, this movie is just incredible to me. It's everything that I want.
And it's a Rambo movie, so you know what you're getting, right?
Yes. And even more so, it's a Stallone movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, I mean, I know that he's doing Rocky 3 at this point in his career, but this sets the stage for all Stallone movies going forward.
Oh yeah, because even Rocky 3, there's definitely bits of this that are taken.
Sure, and but even the Rocky movies, like they're just a different animal. They're actual movies. They're about overcoming something. I'm not calling them good movies. Like the first Rocky was good.
Rocky 4 is like 45% montages.
Yeah, but we fucking love montages.
Oh no, Rocky 4 is great.
With that being said, and I know you've already seen it, but it bears the question: are you excited for First Blood Part 2?
Yes. I know he goes a little bit into superhero mode in the future movies. I don't know if any of the other ones are going to be rated as high as this one. But you tell me when, and I'll watch Rocky 2. Rocky 2.
Rambo 2.
Rambo 2.
They're all streaming. Every Rambo movie. You have Rambo, you have First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3 on HBO, and then you have Rambo and Rambo Last Blood on Netflix.
Oh, man. We're about to go heavy Rambo on this podcast.
We might be, yes. 100%. I think we've already answered this question, but it bears repeating. What would make this movie better? Only one thing. Sheriff Teasel knowing why he doesn't like Rambo so much. At least for a 1982 movie. Like, there are things that could make this movie better, but let's put ourselves in 1982 watching this movie for the first time. The only thing that can make this movie better is knowing why Teasel disliked Rambo.
So, before you brought up the Teasel Korean War vet, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but kind of how that's kind of the lost war generation. That makes way more sense to me. But originally, I had thought, what was Alt, the real asshole cop?
Yeah,
I think if he would have been either like good friends, maybe a younger brother, maybe even a son of the police sheriff.
he was. That was even mentioned.
No, he was. But I'm saying who suffered from the same things as Rambo, coming back from Vietnam. Had he been in Vietnam and was suffering from the same things,
and thus the reason he kind of lost his shit on Rambo.
Right. The other thing is, I grew up on anti-Vietnam movies because, other than this movie, all the Vietnam War movies I've seen have been very anti-Vietnam.
You should watch some John Wayne stuff.
I'm not watching Green Berets with John Wayne. And I don't know if this movie has sequels. I don't know if the popularity is the same. But making it a very anti-Vietnam movie makes it a better movie for me.
Yeah.
Where I did all of this. My life is ruined. I'm a wreck of a person. I've got PTSD. I'm over violent. I can't control myself. All because you wanted me to kill people in a fucking war we never should have been involved in, and lied to the American people on why we were involved in it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck everything about the Vietnam War. That makes it a better movie for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it maintains the popularity. I don't know if there's 4 sequels, 5 total movies. I don't know if it's a classic with that, but it makes it a better movie for me.
I kind of felt like it already was that, though. to some extent. It might have not delved into it as much as you wanted it to, but especially with that last monologue, I felt like this was an anti-Vietnam movie.
Yeah, but not to the level of Platoon or Born on the 4th of July or Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
Which I don't believe you haven't seen any of those 3 movies.
No, but I understand the basis, and like I've watched enough movies and I know enough about those movies to know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I highly doubt that there's any change in this, but would you recast the movie at all?
No. Crenna, Denny, and Stallone, and Caruso for that matter.
Caruso really killed it in this movie for the small amount he was in.
I could have used, I don't know, double the Caruso.
Mm-hmm. Galt, his character, Jack Stardent, I think is his name. He kills it up until he dies.
Sure, yeah.
Like, even in that opening scene where he was like, I'll break your fucking head in with my police baton. Like, I really felt the intensity from him. He was incredible.
No, I would not recast this movie. Not for a second.
Yeah. If this movie was made in 2022, the head of the National Guardsmen would be Danny McBride.
So who's Rambo in 2022?
Jason Statham could do it.
Okay,
because he could be a vet from the Iraq War or the war in Afghanistan in the early 90s.
Can Terry Crews play the Colonel in this movie?
Of course he can. In 2022, yes. Idris Elba could too.
Oh yeah. Oh, what if it's a British Special Forces movie?
That'd be cool.
With Statham and Idris Elba.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Statham, like Stallone, is a better actor than people give him credit for.
Yes, yeah.
And now I don't know, it might be my second favorite part of this podcast, but I love the Mount Rushmore scenes, but it's so hard to be better than user reviews on IMDb.
These are my favorite for movies like this, where I'm like, okay, how do you hate this movie? Give me a legitimate explanation of why this movie is below a 6 out of 10.
And like I said, there were only 3 reviews to pick out of the 1 out of 10s, and I picked one of them. So it was good enough to pick.
Okay. Do they say that it's political?
I'll get there.
Okay.
But I'm going to start with our 10 out of 10 review. First Blood is a great picture. Saw it 5 or 6 times, most of them when I was 10 to 15 years old. This guy is me.
Yeah.
I owned a VHS. This guy's me. Now revisiting after 13 years, I found one interesting aspect of this picture. Although Rambo associates with action, physical force, and weapons, First Blood isn't about the action at all. Action in this movie is never forced. It is a logical consequence of the actions. Later movies became super action flicks, but this was always more about the character. It's actually a superb character study. Sylvester Stallone shines in one of his best acting works, creating an unforgettable character. 32 years have passed since this movie saw a daylight, and it still looks great, and most important, feels real. And the ending, still one of the most powerful speeches in cinema. Stallone is absolutely brilliant in there.
I agree with everything he says.
Except?
When he said aspect, all I could think of was a great ass shot of Stallone when they were giving him the shower with the fire hose.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh, Stallone's ass is fully out, and it's glorious. It's not Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, but it's close.
So, to rival Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the ass scene that Stallone has in his sex scene in The Specialist is incredible. It's this full room shower, like a 10 by 10 room that's a shower, and he has sex.
My dream.
Yes, my dream.
Sex in a 10 by 10 shower is the name of my punk rock album.
Oh my God, that's what I thought. I had to look it up, but I fucking thought Sylvester Stallone in The Specialist in this 10 by 10 shower room has sex with the great Sharon Stone. Have you seen The Specialist?
No, but
we're fucking doing it.
We getting Drew on for it?
Yes, we're getting Drew on for it for another Sharon Stone film. Yes, fucking sir. Incredible. But yeah, that to me, that's the best Stallone pick of his ass is in The Specialist. You heard it here, folks. Now my bad review. 1 out of 10. It's a long road. Oh, I'm sorry. It's titled "It's a Long Road." ... for somebody.
It's a 93-minute movie. Calm down, brother.
Right. Lazy drifter stumbles into a small town and refuses to comply when a kind-hearted sheriff asks him to leave. BJ just backed away from the table, everybody.
Oh, we need to record this podcast. This is great physical humor on my part. That's what you got from this movie? Is that Stallone is a lazy drifter?
Yep.
He's a Green Beret Medal of Honor recipient who's struggling with PTSD. He is not a lazy drifter.
No. And kind-hearted sheriff.
Kind-hearted sheriff? You mean
what
asshole?
Did the sheriff come off kind-hearted when he first stopped and saw Rambo? Yes.
For 12 seconds?
Yeah, I was about to say, It took him from the time to drive him through the one-road town to realize that he wasn't a fucking kind-hearted person.
That town was bustling more than it should have been.
Yes, 100% it was. Despite the excellent skill and training of the police department, also not true, my friend, Rambo, Schmuck Stallone, soon goes on a rampage and destroys the city, including Transformers, so all the residents in the area have to live without heat or electricity in December. Rambo will surrender, but not before he gives a 5-minute rambling, incoherent dissertation about all the, quote, French guiles, friends, he lost in the war, and how he can't hold a job for, quote, gate growers, 8 hours. Colonel Troutman delivers this manic to the cops, with Troutman's coat draped over Rambo's shoulders so he's nice and warm, and his hands cupped in front of him so he's not too uncomfortable when Rambo really ought to be hogtied and have his shoes taken away from him. It's a long road, but someday the nice citizens of this once quiet town will get their lives back on track now that Rambo's been put away, ... until the sequel.
So do you remember my reaction when you told me that in World War I, when people were struggling with PTSD, they just killed them?
Yeah.
The guy that wrote this review was like, yeah, of course. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Just kill him. I don't give a shit what he's been through. This guy's a piece of shit.
I can't with these user reviews sometimes. I did not think it was going there.
Wasn't that bad? That was awful.
I would like to take this point of the podcast to be like, how the F is vagrancy a crime?
Yes.
Someone just explain to me why vagrancy is a crime. I can change my opinion. I have not heard a good explanation yet.
Both me and you are really good at changing our opinions.
Oh, yeah. If I hear something that makes sense, I will be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our 1 out of 10 review. This guy is clearly an idiot. But that 10 out of 10 review.
Yeah.
I like that was good.
And he let me talk about Stallone's ass. Let's talk about Stallone's ass. For
and now you know The Specialist has Sharon Stone on there, an intense sex scene.
How old is Sharon Stone in that movie?
In The Specialist?
Yes. What year did it come out?
The Specialist came out in 1994.
Oh, so that's like 2 years removed from Basic Instinct.
That's peak Sharon Stone.
Is Sharon Stone naked in that scene as well?
I mean, yeah. I think The Specialist was my second sex scene to watch after Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek in Desperado. So my first 2 sex scenes really spoiled me for the rest of cinema.
That is, yes, because I don't know if they get better than the Banderas Hayek.
And Stallone and Sharon Stone, because I don't know if you remember what Stallone looked like in 92, but he looked better than he did in 82.
He looked good in 82.
He looked great in 82.
He looked good in a burlap sack.
Neither one of us will look good in a burlap sack. Should people watch this movie? I'm going to answer for you the answers in a resounding fuck yeah.
It's 90 minutes. Do you know how bad an action movie has to be if it's 90 minutes for me to tell you not to watch it?
Horrible. You'll tell people they should watch Sharknado.
Sure, you should.
Yeah. That's how bad an action movie has to be. It has to be worse than Sharknado.
This is not worse than Sharknado.
Absolutely not.
If you guys hung into the podcast to this point, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media accounts. IRMFT Pod, short for I Remember My First Time. Special guest next week, my father, Greg Leica, to discuss a movie featuring the best runner in Hollywood history. We've got our first Tom Cruise movie, and it's Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol. It's the one where he climbs the Burj Khalifa. It's on Netflix. Give it a watch and join us for that really fun podcast. Thanks again. Bye.